Alright, hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host in AEW Enthusiast, Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Dynamite, March 1st, 2023 episode. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the month of March. Coming up this Sunday, March 5th, is AEW Revolution. But before we get to Revolution, we got the go-home episode of Dynamite, featuring the Face of the Revolution ladder match, as well as some final touches to the Revolution card. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So athleticism and creativity would define this match, with the high flyer standing out from the pack. The presence of Daniel Garcia nearly ensured that Guevara would score the win, but the resourceful Hobbs would instead be the one to secure the victory, sending Takeshita crashing off a ladder and securing a TNT title match next week on Dynamite. Overall, the match was a spot fest. It featured some storytelling in the form of Garcia and Guevara working together to eliminate Andrade from the match, but it really did thrive on the big moments like most AEW ladder matches do. Eddie Kingston and Santana Ortiz were briefly involved in this match before they chose to take their personal issues away from ringside into the backstage area, and then Eddie Kingston would quit after the show. So this is probably a storyline. So issues between Kingston and Ortiz unresolved, and also I think Eddie Kingston's got some other issues going on with AEW. Most likely, when you see that sort of thing, it's a work. So I'm curious to see what comes out of that. Takeshita coming oh so close to securing an opportunity. I think it was nice to see him in those final moments, and I think he certainly will get a title opportunity at some point. But Carlos Hobbs makes sense as a winner here. And then Rio versus Tony Storm. So after the match, Rio would pick up the win, and after the match, Ruby Soho would make her presence felt ahead of the triple threat match between her, Hayter, and Saraya for the AEW Women's title. A brawl then ensued between all involved, which led to security involvement. Overall, effective bit of business, both in terms of in-ring action and final build for the title match. Storm Rio showed some solid in-ring chemistry, while the storyline with Soho in the middle. The two warrior teams has done a great deal to bring attention and focus to the women's division. Soho versus Hayter versus Saraya should be fun and continue the upward trend of recent women's wrestling storylines in the company. So, been interesting to see Storm take a loss here. Will it lead to something? Will it lead to nothing? Who knows? Will Revolution be the conclusion of the feud between Saraya and Storm and Baker and Hayter? Maybe not. Maybe the story continues on. Maybe Ruby Soho actually picks a team and runs with that team. Who knows with that one. Then Bryan Danielson and MJF put the final hype on their Revolution main event. So overall, this was a great segment here, as pretty much Danielson carried this one on the mic. MJF said nothing. And this was overall great stuff, as Danielson showed that he can indeed cut a great promo in addition to being a great wrestler. He held nothing back here. The match between Danielson and MJF should be a classic if everything goes relatively smoothly from a booking perspective. The only negative I could say about this segment was, given that there wasn't much time left for these two guys, something that probably which meant basically AEW overbooked this show, so they probably should have cut a segment or two just to try to save some time. Like Hook versus Hardy could have saved that for Rampage, but still with the time that they had left, Danielson would save his best for last, and the result was a suitable exclamation point. So looking at the Revolution card, normally there's about like 10 to 13 matches on the card. This one only has 8, so is that a sign of a reduced pay-per-view card? I would hope, but more likely than not, it's because of the 60-minute Iron Man match that AEW has kind of reduced this card, so to speak, in terms of how many matches are going to be on it. Granted, it would be nice to see AEW kind of shift more towards, like, I think 8's a pretty good number. Yeah, 8's a pretty good number. I would say even like 7. Maybe like 7 or 8 matches is probably a good idea. But I guess we'll have to see what comes comes up for their next pay-per-view, which I think will probably be Double or Nothing. But looking over at the current card at 8 matches, you have MJF versus Bryan Danielson in that 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship. And as much as I want Danielson to win the world title here, this is MJF's first big title defense. I think his first title defense since he won the title, so he's not losing here. MJF's winning. Then you have the 4-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. So there was that casino. There was a couple of battle royals. You have the current champions, The Gun, the former champions, The Acclaimed, and then Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett will win a battle royal. Albeit, I didn't really think they needed to win a battle royal. They've gotten tag team title opportunities recently, like this year. So I think they're kind of a poor fit into this match. And so is Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. Another poor fit into this matchup as well too. So this is probably about the least anticipated match on the card, or probably about the worst built up match on the card. This match is not looking good on paper. Wouldn't like to see Butcher and Blade in place of Cassidy and Danhausen, but who knows, in-ring action will most likely deliver, and there's only one way for this match to go, and that's the necessary way, and it's necessary for the Acclaim to reclaim the tag team titles that they never should have lost in the first place. And you have Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Death Match. This one's a hard one to pick, but I'll go with Moxley here. Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT title. So, as much as I like Samoa Joe as a champion, as much as I like to see Samoa Joe versus Powerhouse Hobbs, this seems to be building up towards Wardlow reclaiming the TNT title. So I'll go with Wardlow here, winning, and then going on to defend the title against Powerhouse Hobbs next week. Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks in a singles match where the Jericho Appreciation Society is banned from ringside, which honestly is a nice thing to see. Ringside interference is probably about one of the worst things in professional wrestling, both in WWE and AEW. It's a bad look for the wrestler competing in the ring, so it'd be nice to see Jericho competing on his own without any ringside shenanigans. But I'll go with Starks getting the win here. But truth be told, this is, I think, a match that's just not necessary. There was no reason to do this rematch, but you did it anyway. So, only way to make it worth it is to have Starks win. Then you have Jamie Hayter versus Saraya versus Ruby Soho, and for the AEW Women's World Championship. And I'll go with Hayter here, but I would like to see Saraya and Soho be the women's champion at some point, but I just don't think the time is right for either one of them. Then you have the AEW World Trios Championship match, the Elite versus the House of Black. Give me the House of Black here. I know the Elite haven't really had very many title defenses since winning the titles, but that's kind of mostly Tony Khan's fault because he wasted so much time with that best of 7 series rather than just having like a best of 3 and then the Elite win the title quicker, and then maybe they can squeeze in some more title defenses in between. Granted, they've had some, but I feel like the LA could have had a much better run, and they could have done more had they not had so much time wasted with that best of 7. But House of Black, this feels like a match that they gotta win, so they're winning. Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and this is a no-holds-barred match. Christian wasn't quite clear on what the stipulation was, but generally when he said no rules, probably usually infers a no-holds-barred match. And I'll go with Jack Perry getting the win here. And yeah, with that, those are my picks for Revolution. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.